All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about CD Projekt Red. And in this particular notion, we're talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, you guys know the entire history about Cyberpunk 2077. I've done so many videos on this particular game. You guys already know my disappointment that I had with the game when it first came out, just like many of you had as well. The problem is, though, apparently the sequel associate director says that the original game didn't push the envelope far enough with its social commentary, and this has me extremely worried about the future of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, as you guys are aware, with all the nonsense that's happening in the gaming industry right now, it is very worrisome when somebody in the industry who is developing a game that honestly is highly loved now, granted it wasn't that way in the beginning, but it has been, over time fixed and has become essentially this like cult classic sort of a thing where they have a cult following. Like Cyberpunk 2077 has a strong following. It's not massive, but it has a strong following, and it is growing steadily as time goes on, and they continue to work on the game. Now, the fact that a sequel is coming out does have a lot of people excited, but considering what happened with the first game, you got to look at it from a very, very far back standpoint, let's just say. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, it says Cyberpunk 2077 sequel associate director says the original game didn't push the envelope far enough with its social commentary. In the opinion of Cyberpunk 2077 sequel associate director Powell Sasko, the first game in CD Projekt Red's latest franchise did not push the envelope far enough in regards to its commentary on American social issues. Now, that's the part that has me extremely worried, ladies and gentlemen. I understand there are some woke aspects to Cyberpunk 2077. Don't get it twisted. I fully get that, but it was few and far between, and it was done very well. I'm extremely worried if this is the mindset that one of their developers has going into the sequel, thinking, oh, we didn't talk about how bad America is, enough. We didn't talk about the social issues enough. That just kind of will take me out of the entire story, to be honest with you, if they go too far with it. And this is what I keep saying, right? They don't know when to stop. They don't know when to say, you know what, we got to win. We're good, right? They don't know when to do that. They had a terrible release, and they should be focusing on, instead of social problems, they should be focusing on guaranteeing that they're going to have a very smooth launch. Because I got to be honest with you, if CD Projekt Red has another shitty launch with this IP, that is not going to be a good look. It is going to be detrimental to their reputation, because they had a very good reputation with the Witcher series, and now CD Projekt Red kind of tanked in terms of public perception because of Cyberpunk 2077. Now they're gaining favor little by little again, and I just don't want to see them necessarily ruin that. But you also got to think about who the company is, right? We have spoken so much about CD Projekt Red and the rabbit hole that they're going down in terms of the wokeness, right? We already know that they are completely corrupted when it comes to woke ESG stuff. They are focusing on it. They even have like this, I don't know, what was it? This like celebration award or something for women who get their periods, menstrual leave, whatever. It's like, who cares, man? Just fucking focus on making the game and deliver an awesome product. But clearly that's a little bit too difficult for these people. Sasko, who prior to his current role served as the lead quest designer on the first Cyberpunk 2077, offered his thoughts on the topic while making an appearance alongside the sequel's presently codenamed Project Orion executive producer Dan Hemberg on the 7th episode of his employer CD Projekt Red's in-house game developer-centric podcast Answer Red. And then pressed by the show's co-host Powell Berza if he could speak to his experience as a European making a game set in the US, Hemberg recalled that one of the biggest challenges he faced was the fact that there is so much nuance in the differences between the two cultures. Being from Europe is like interesting, he opined, of his research in the American aesthetic. I sometimes feel like I'm in a camera in some other reality and just observing and taking snapshots. To this end, he noted that one of the most stark contrasts between the two countries was the fact that the U.S. suffers from a rampant homelessness crisis, the particular realities of which made him realize that Cyberpunk 2077's attempt at portraying a future dystopia were laughable compared to what he saw in the present day. Well, I mean, listen, that goes for a lot of IPs, right? Like you're not going to showcase the world as it necessarily is. The entire reason for you developing a video game with its own story, own precedents, own everything is that you just make it up, right? Like you're making it up. In this Cyberpunk 2077 world, perhaps it was okay that homelessness was at its minimum, right? You didn't have to showcase just how bad it was in current modern day America. Perhaps give us something to strive to, and it's just weird that you look at stuff like that and you think, oh, I didn't do that enough in Cyberpunk 2077. Why would you think that? It just doesn't make any sense, right? I get it. You're trying to look at it from a dystopia point of view, modern day, all that stuff. I totally get that. But there are some things that don't have to necessarily translate to get your point across, right? In my opinion, Cyberpunk sold its dystopian world very well. Again, that's my opinion, but I think it sold its world very well. One of the best things about Cyberpunk is its world and its world building and whatnot, and your ability to showcase and see different cultures and everything get together and live life. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. So I just don't understand why you would look at something like this and want to see it in your video game when it doesn't necessarily belong. It says, like, I remember us traveling a couple of times, LA, San Francisco, when working on Cyberpunk, Soscope Detail, and then after we did the game, we shipped it, and I did even more traveling now when I'm in the US. I see that we didn't push the envelope far enough in some places. For instance, like let's say the homeless crisis, and so on. Well, why can't you just sell the story that in the dystopian future of Cyberpunk 2077, homelessness was for the most part conquered with different programs and initiatives that were able to make it happen? You know what I mean? Like, you can make up something to showcase why you have little homelessness. Just because you see homelessness in real life doesn't mean, oh, okay, we got to showcase it more in Cyberpunk 2077. It's weird, man. Like, you could sell the story either way. So I just don't see why seeing it in real life means that you have to put it in the game. You could just decide to sell us a story as to why it's not there as much in the first place. When I look at it, I'm like, we weren't going far enough in Cyberpunk 2077, concluded the Project Orion associate director. We thought that we were like dystopian, but it was like we just touched the surface. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a sign that usually is not a good one, right? When one of these developers starts thinking, oh, we didn't do enough. We didn't go far enough. We didn't take it far enough. We didn't talk about social justice far enough. We didn't talk about different issues and social issues far enough. We need to go farther. We need to take this much further. And that's when it starts becoming a problem, because then they don't know when to find the balance, right? Right now, they're at the balance. Right now, Cyberpunk 2077 is at that good balance where it's a great game that has a little bit of wokeness in it, but for the most part, it is a great game now anyway, not when it was released. If you take it too far and you take it to a point where, now you're literally preaching to people, that's when you're going to lose people. That's when you're going to lose a fan base. That's when you're going to lose players and customers. It is not a good idea. They should really ramp it down. Calm down, just stick to what you were doing before and stop trying to get ahead of yourselves, because you already got to focus on giving an absolutely amazing launch in order to make up for your shitty launch of the first one. And if you don't do that, you're not going to have a game to worry about social justice. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.